You're live from New Delhi. You're watching the India News Hour, India's Voice of the World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. European Union launches Red Sea naval mission against Yemen's Houthis attacks as Houthis attack 2 US ships in the Gulf of Aden. Say British vessels attacked on Sunday are at risk of sinking. Indian Prime Minister Modi ushers in a new era of development in Jammu and Kashmir. Focus on setting up Indian Institutes of Management, All India Institute of Medical Sciences to Viksit Bharat plans. India's Asian Games medalist Anush creates history in equestrian, secures India's first Paris Olympics quota in dressage discipline. On to the details now. The European Union on Monday gave the green light for a defensive mission in the Red Sea to safeguard civilian cargo ships from Houthi attacks. The decision was made in collaboration with India's existing anti-piracy efforts in the Indian Ocean. DD India's correspondent Alex Kadia reports for more from Brussels.
Well, as they so often have, Russia and the Middle East dominated discussions among the EU's 27 foreign ministers here in Brussels. Protecting civilian cargo ships in the Red Sea was very high on the agenda. Officials here announcing a new mission to try and achieve that, but stressed the mission is defensive and will focus on escorting ships through those areas targeted by Yemen's Houthi rebels and not striking Yemeni territory. The mission will be led by Greece, and Italy, France, Germany and others have said they'll be contributing ships. The mission will work alongside the US-led coalition in the Gulf of Aden and will coordinate with India's anti-piracy mission east of the Red Sea. EU officials have told me they discussed and coordinated their plans with their Indian counterparts. The question now, both for the EU's mission in the Red Sea and for new sanctions in Russia, will be about impact and whether or not the EU will be able to continue making a difference on the global stage. Alex Kadia in Brussels reporting for DD India.
Well, European Union's measures comes in response to increased attacks by Yemen's Houthis disrupting global shipping. The recent attacks by Yemen's Houthi terrorists on Monday involved attacks on 2 US ships, Sea Champion and Navis Fortuna, in the Gulf of Aden. The group said the attacks had been carried out using naval missiles. Early on Monday, the group said they had attacked the British Rubimar cargo vessel, putting it at risk of sinking and raising the stakes in their campaign to disrupt global shipping. Well, the European Union is aiming to get its 13th package of sanctions against Russia over the line by the 2-year anniversary of the full-scale offensive in Ukraine. The 27 European Union foreign ministers discussed the conflict in Brussels on Monday. 26 of the 27 member countries joined in support of the sanctions. It would complement a 50 billion euros financial support package for Kyiv and a move to set aside profits from Russia's immobilized sovereign assets. Hungary remained the sole naysayer, which said imposing more European Union sanctions on Kremlin makes no sense and only hurts the bloc's economy. Also, the EU foreign ministers reiterated their calls for ceasefire in the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, stressing on the unconditional release of hostages held by Hamas.
Express its support to this statement and produce a new one, which is basically the same one that I issued during the weekend, but with an additional statement, additional paragraph, which is to require an immediate humanitarian pause that would lead to a sustainable ceasefire, to the unconditional release of hostages, and to the provision of humanitarian assistance.
And even as IDF troops continue operations against Hamas in Gaza, the Israeli military says it has recovered footage of hostage mother and children. Video footage released on Monday showed Israeli woman Bibas and her 2 small children being moved by terrorists in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. The family was kidnapped on 7th of October. They are among the 134 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari vowed to keep fighting Hamas until until all the hostages are released.
Seeing this young mother clutching her babies, surrounded by a group of armed terrorists, is horrifying and heart-wrenching. But it is also a call for action, that we must bring the hostages home, fast. Those who have the audacity to question our need to operate in Gaza, but don't have the decency, the basic decency and humanity, to demand that Hamas release our hostages first of all. They all should take a good look at this terrified mother, Shiri, clutching her babies.
Meanwhile, Israel Defense Forces struck 2 weapon depots belonging to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. The strikes came in response to a drone launched into Israel by Hezbollah. Well, continuing with providing aid to Ukraine in its fight against Russia, Canada will donate more than 800 drones to Ukraine as part of an additional aid package to the country. Canadian Defence Minister Bill Blair on Monday announced that Canada will donate more than 800 Sky Ranger R-70 multi-mission unmanned aerial systems to Ukraine. This donation is part of a previously announced $500 million in military assistance for Ukraine, announced by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau during his visit to Kyiv in June 2023. The government said these drones, valued at over $95 million, are important for surveillance and intelligence gathering and can also be used to move supplies, including munitions. Canada is expected to deliver the Sky Ranger drones by early April.
Partners, our discussions are that no one knows how to fight the Russians better than the Ukrainians because they've been doing it for 2 years. They have been ingenious. And so working very closely to them, I'm very pleased today to be standing next to this device and to advise you that Canada is investing over $95 million to provide Ukraine with more than 800 Sky Ranger R-70 drones.
Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Monday that Russia is exploiting delays in aid to Ukraine, and the situation in areas where Moscow's troops are concentrated is extremely difficult. Zelensky was speaking after visiting the front line in the Kupiansk sector in the northeast, an area recaptured by Ukraine in 2022, but where Russian forces have been active in recent months. Zelensky has expressed confidence that the U.S. Congress will endorse a large aid package, including assistance to Ukraine, delayed by wrangling among lawmakers.
It is now an extremely difficult situation in several parts of the front line, exactly where Russian troops have concentrated maximum reserves. They are taking advantage of delays in aid to Ukraine, and this is a very sensitive matter. Artillery shortages, the need for frontline air defense, and for a longer range of our weapons. We need joint decisions, rational decisions, to get out of this situation. First of all, our decisions with the Poles and everyone in Europe who cares about the fate of Europe.
Well, U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday said he's willing to meet with House of Representatives Speaker Mike Johnson to discuss a funding bill for Ukraine's security needs. The Senate earlier this month passed a $95 billion aid package that includes funds for Ukraine, but Johnson signaled he opposed the legislation before the Senate even passed it. Biden said Republicans are making a big mistake by opposing aid to Ukraine and walking away from NATO. Johnson has requested personal meetings with Biden several times in recent weeks before he took any action on the funding bill.
Big mistake not responding. Look, the way they're walking away from the threat of Russia, the way they're walking away from NATO, the way they're walking away from meeting our obligations is just shocking. I've been for a while. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, Polish farmers could block all border crossings with Ukraine from today, a move that could stop the movement of crucial supplies to the conflict-stricken nation. Farmers' unions warned last week that they're ready to escalate their agitation, which has been going on for weeks. Our correspondent in Europe, Ishan Garg, tells us more.
Farmers from Poland are ratcheting up the pressure on their national governments and the European Union. They say cheap agricultural imports from Ukraine are hurting their livelihoods, which is why they are now blocking border checkpoints. Ukrainian officials say the flow of trucks has completely stopped in some areas. Close to 3,000 trucks are waiting at the borders, according to Ukraine's border agency. And reports say about 600 trucks are waiting on the other side to enter Poland. Poland and Ukraine share a 534-kilometer long border. Kiev argues that the blockade is not only hurting exports but also limiting its ability to bring back essential supplies in empty trucks, hurting its defenses as it continues to battle Russian aggression. Ukrainian and Polish officials have held several rounds of meetings. Polish authorities are working to assuage the concerns of the farmers who are demanding a complete halt of duty-free imports from Ukraine. Some are also concerned about EU-wide regulations which they say are adding to the cost of farming. Polish farmers had blocked routes earlier in January but suspended their protest after officials agreed to meet their initial demands. But the protest is expected to grow. Farmers from other European countries are planning to join in the next few days, and farmers' unions say the blockade will continue until March the 10th. Ishan Garg in Brussels, reporting for DD India.
And European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Monday won the backing of a German centre-right party for a second term. At a meeting of the party leadership, Germany's opposition Christian Democrats gave their support to von der Leyen to be their candidate for Commission President. With this, she is now in a strong position to clinch another 5 years running the European Union's executive body.
Heute, 5 Jahre später,
I am taking a very conscious and well-considered decision. I would like to run for a second term in office, and I'm very grateful to the CDU for nominating me as the top candidate of the EPP today.
Kandidatin für die EVP.
Well, the first woman to hold the job, von der Leyen steered the EU through the COVID-19 pandemic, the formal exit of Britain from the bloc and the ructions following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The leaders of the European Union's 27 member countries will choose the Commission President after elections to the European Parliament in June later this year. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Greek Foreign Minister Georgios Gerapetritis arrives in India to participate in India's flagship conference of geopolitics and geostrategy Rise Senior Dialogue from February 21st to 23rd in Delhi. The 12th edition of Milan Exercise 2024 begins at Visakhapatnam. The naval ships of Russia, Australia, Seychelles, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Vietnam and the US to participate in the exercise. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate key development projects today worth over 32,000 crore rupees.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Voice of a rising.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on in a significant step towards all-round development of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate key development projects today. PM Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple development projects worth over 32,000 crore rupees aimed at strengthening the civic and urban infrastructure across Jammu and Kashmir. The projects relate to several sectors including health, education, rail, road, aviation, petroleum, civic infrastructure, among others. Also, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the newly constructed wing of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, India's premier medical institute at Vijaypur at Samba in Jammu, the foundation stone of which was laid in 2019. And for more on this, we have a correspondent, Debyendu Mundal, joining us. Well, Debyendu, various projects are slated to be launched today by the Prime Minister, a big boost to the region's all-round development. Please tell us about the entire program there in Jammu today. I think there's a problem with the audio with Debyendu. Debyendu, can you hear us? Debyendu, can you hear us right now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, did you hear the question?
Yes, let me get straight into the projects that are going to be inaugurated today by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Jammu and Kashmir. So one of the biggest projects would be, the inauguration of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences of Jammu and Kashmir. This is a project whose foundation was laid way back in 2019. This is one of the biggest AIIMS campus that will be opened up in Jammu and Kashmir with departments such as nephrology, and in fact, it would have 15 super specialty departments at this particular Institute of Medical Sciences. Apart from that, it will also house a medical college as well as a nursing college, and also an Ayush dedicated Ayush healthcare center at this particular AIIMS in Jammu and Kashmir. This, of course, is part of the Prime Minister's vision of Viksit Bharat, or a developed India. Also, there will be several other projects that includes the inauguration of railway lines, the inauguration of road projects, petroleum depots, etc., amongst many others, which the Prime Minister will dedicate to Jammu and Kashmir when he will be visiting Jammu later in the day today. And not just this, Dipakshi, there will be several other projects. In fact, the educational sector will see a major boost in the announcement and in fact the inauguration which the Prime Minister will make in a short while from now.
Right, a landmark day for the education sector, Debyendu. Various institutions, including IITs and IIMs, will also get permanent campuses. What is the scene there? How excited are the people about all this?
Well, of course, this is a major boost to the education sector when the Prime Minister will dedicate to the nation several IIM campuses, several IITs, Indian Institute of Skills, where skill training and skill management will be provided to a lot of youths who can use the skills for employability in the coming time. So also not just this, even several Kendriya Vidyalayas and Navodaya Vidyalayas will also be inaugurated by the Prime Minister in different parts of the country for primary and secondary education. Even hostels as well as faculty blocks of these new institutes, for example, the IIT, IIMs in Patna, in Bodh Gaya, in other parts of the country will also be inaugurated, where hostel blocks where students from across India can come and stay there, study without thinking about the accommodation. These factors will also be has been taken into consideration while constructing these important educational institutions. So, this major push towards the education sector by the Prime Minister is being looked at through a very positive lens, because remember, there had been a demand for more IITs and IIMs across different parts of the state, different parts of the country. So therefore, keeping that in mind, the Prime Minister is dedicating number of these projects in different parts of the country so that people don't have to travel from north to south, south to north for better education. Education are coming closer to their home.
All right, Debyendu, thank you so much for that update. We'll come back to you for more updates. And a big historic day today, definitely. And moving on, Foreign Minister of Greek, Georgios Derapetritis, arrives in India's capital, Delhi, in the early hours of Tuesday. He'll be participating in the 9th Raisina Dialogue, which is scheduled to take place on February 21st to 23rd in Delhi. India-Greece ties are based on shared cultural values, a commitment to foster economic growth and collaboration in the fields of security and defense, shipping and maritime, and are marked by convergence on regional and global issues. The two countries have have also been cooperating closely in various multilateral forums. The ASEAN Dialogue is India's flagship conference on geopolitics and geostrategy. It is organized by the Ministry of External Affairs of India in collaboration with the Observer Research Foundation. Our Minister of State for External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, will represent India at the G20 Foreign Ministers Meeting or G20 FMM in Rio de Janeiro on 21st and 22nd of February. During his visit, the minister will participate in two key sessions, including G20's role in dealing with ongoing international tensions and global governance reform. MOS External Affairs will also attend the India, Brazil, South Africa, IPSA Foreign Ministers meeting on the 22nd of February 2024. On the sidelines of FMM, he will also hold bilateral meetings with partner countries from the global south. Brazil assumed the G20 presidency from India on the 1st of December 2023, and the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting would be the first ministerial meeting under the Brazilian presidency. The G20 Foreign Ministers have been meeting as a group since 2012, and the FMM in Rio would be its 10th meeting. And India is hosting a 9-day mega naval exercise in Visakhapatnam, which got underway on Monday. More than 50 countries are taking part in the 12th edition of the Milan exercise, which is being held at India's Visakhapatnam. The 9-day naval event would be a platform for the participating navies to share ideas to enhance security on the high seas and ensure safety of maritime commerce for growth and prosperity of all. In addition to building bridges of friendship and strengthening of relationship, sea exercise would enhance interoperability, enable exchange of best practices, and will boost confidence to undertake missions together in the future to tackle common challenges. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said that Indian government targets to increase the Indian economy from current $3.7 trillion to a $30 to $35 trillion economy by 2047. He also added that the government's ambition is to make India a fully developed nation by 2047, and all efforts are being made in this direction. The chairman of the High-Level Committee on One Nation, One Election and former Indian President Ram Nath Kovind held consultations with former Chief Justices of India, Justice Deepak Misra and Justice S.A. Bobde, who gave their considered opinion on the elections. The committee is exploring the options of conducting simultaneous election at centre and at state level in India. Indian Army organized a program to celebrate the Shiv Jayanti at the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj statue in Kupwara of India's Jammu Kashmir. The soldiers paid their respect to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj amid snowfall and white ground all around in the vicinity, with temperature with the level of mercury under 0 degrees. New Delhi to hold the Indus-X Summit on 21st February. The summit marks a significant milestone in the collaborative efforts between India and the United States in defense innovation. It aims to be a pivotal event driving strategic technology partnerships and defense industrial cooperation between India and the USA. And 120 Miss World participants embracing the Indian attire gathered at India Gate in New Delhi to celebrate cultural unity. India is hosting 71st edition of Miss World pageant from February 18th to March 9th. With the latest edition, the coveted international beauty pageant is making a return to the country after nearly 3 decades. And as tensions rise between China and Taiwan, 6 Chinese Coast Guard personnel boarded a Taiwanese tourist boat near Taiwan-controlled islands on Monday. Taiwan said the move triggered panic amongst passengers and expressed regret over the incident. The boat had 11 crew members and 23 passengers. Well, a fresh flashpoint has arisen in recent days between China and Taiwan. The latest incident involves two Chinese fishermen who drowned in waters near a group of islands close to mainland China but under Taiwanese rule.
A tragic incident on Valentine's Day has become the cause of fresh tensions between China and Taiwan. Taiwan has defended the action of its Coast Guard after two people on a Chinese speedboat, which got too close to a frontline Taiwanese island, died when their boat overturned while trying to flee a Coast Guard ship. The Coast Guard also released footage of its personnel recovering one of the remains following the incident, which happened after a Chinese speedboat with 4 passengers on board entered prohibited waters near Kenmen's Beiding Islet, home to a military garrison.
As the speedboat was sneaking, trying to evade inspection and even drifting, the speedboat capsized and the 4 people on board fell into the sea. Then a patrol boat immediately launched a search and rescue, successfully rescuing 4 mainland fishermen, 2 of whom survived and are currently undergoing questioning by the Coast Guard. The other 2 were rushed to the Kinmen Hospital for emergency treatment and were declared dead after first aid was unsuccessful.
But China is livid. Monday saw the Taiwanese Defense Ministry saying it detected 17 Chinese military aircraft flying near its territory. Taipei also said Chinese Coast Guard personnel briefly boarded a Taiwanese tourist boat near Taiwan-controlled islands on Monday. Earlier, labeling the death of the fishermen as wicked, Chinese Coast Guard said it's strengthening its law enforcement activities and carrying out regular patrol in the contested waters. China's Taiwan Affairs Office also said the deaths had caused strong indignation in China, but that there were no off-limits waters. The decision to increase patrols raises concern about heightened proximity between Chinese and Taiwanese Coast Guard boats, increasing the risk of miscalculation and conflict. Taiwan considers itself a sovereign state, but China claims it as its own, even threatening to take it by force at a time of its choosing, despite US assuring its security. China has ramped up efforts to challenge the long-standing status quo across the Taiwan Strait in recent weeks, with Beijing also altering a flight path near the median line of the Taiwan Strait.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Singapore Air Show, Asia's biggest air show, begins in Singapore with participants from 50 countries. India's Sarang team to perform a 4-helicopter display at the air show. Amid monthly process until election day, US Presidential Committee files financial disclosures, shows candidates raising campaign funds as they ramp up calls for donations. Almost 1,000 people participated in the annual Copenhagen Light Festival, jogging or walking through the city wearing battery-powered LED light chains.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching the India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. European Union launches Red Sea naval mission against Yemen's Houthis attack as Houthi attacked 2 US ships in the Gulf of Aden. Say British vessels attacked on Sunday are at risk of sinking. Indian Prime Minister Modi ushers in a new era of development in Jammu and Kashmir, focus on setting up Indian Institutes of Management, All India Institute of Medical Sciences to Viksit Bharat plans. India's Asian Games medalist Anush creates history in equestrian, secures India's first Paris Olympics quota in dressage discipline. And Asia's biggest air show was kicked off in Singapore on Tuesday with participants from 50 countries. The biennial commercial and defense-focused Singapore Air Show will feature military aircraft from India, Singapore, Australia, Indonesia, South Korea and the US. This edition will be the first in 6 years unaffected by pandemic restrictions. Participating in the event, the Indian contingent will include Sarang helicopter display team of the Indian Air Force. The Sarang team is performing a 4-helicopter display at the air show this year. And for more on this, we have our correspondent Patrick Falk joining us. Well, Patrick, Singapore Air Show is Asia's most influential international aerospace and defense exhibition. India's Sarang team is also performing a 4-helicopter display at the air show this year. What's in store for the Singapore Air Show this year?
Yeah, well, this is the first time since 2019, since before COVID, that the event is back to full scale. There are more than 1,000 exhibitors here from more than 50 different countries, so there's a lot of excitement. And this event is really about industry leaders and figures getting together to engage with one another and talk about issues within the global aviation industry. And one of the big focuses this year in particular is on sustainability, and there's going to be a lot of discussion on how the industry is going to reach net zero emissions. Remember, the global aviation industry has committed to do so by 2050, and you know, one of the things that is being featured here is the Airbus A350-1000, which uses sustainable aviation fuel, which is basically a mixture of cooking oil, tallow, and regular jet fuel. So we're going to be getting a closer look at that today. Also, as you say, there's going to be a lot of excitement about the aerobatic teams here, including India's Sarang helicopter aerobatics team that are going to be performing here tomorrow. It's a 71-man team, and it's one of 5 aerobatic teams that is going to be performing at Singapore. So we're going to be getting a good look at that as well tomorrow.
All right. Patrick, also there's a lot of talk about China's first commercial passenger jet making its debut there. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. It's been described as the most scrutinized aircraft at the Singapore Air Show. And as a matter of fact, I've got a copy of the event news publication, and it's got the Comac C919 there on the front of it. It's a passenger jet which carries around 200 people. You know, China's made no secret of its ambition to break the duopoly that Airbus and Boeing have in the passenger jet space, and so people are coming to take a very close look at it and see how it performs. It has already done a flyby in Singapore here on Sunday, but this is the first time we're going to be able to get up close and have a look. It is operating right now in China already. There are 4 aircraft that are operating domestically, but it has only been licensed to operate in China. It hasn't received certification from European or US regulators. So that's one big hurdle that it needs to cross in order to really cut into this huge market that Airbus and Boeing currently hold. But, you know, it's also coming at a time when Boeing is facing a lot of difficulty. It's been involved in a series of crises, most recently, of course, as we know, part of a fuselage blowing off a plane mid-air. So, you know, the timing of all of this could be very important for the company if it doesn't tend to come to market in a significant way right now.
Well, a big show for the global aviation industry. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us and giving us that information. And moving on, a monthly filing of U.S. Presidential Committee financial disclosures could shine light on which candidates are raising the most campaign funds as they ramp up calls for donations. Today is the deadline to submit January's report to the Federal Election Commission, a process repeated on the 20th of each month until Election Day in November. With more details, Benji Haya is in Washington for more.
This is a routine procedure. Committees that have received contributions or made expenditures of at least $100,000 during the 2024 presidential election cycle must file these monthly reports. That includes the main candidates, so President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump, and his rival for the Republican Party's nomination, Nikki Haley, plus several independent or third-party outsiders, all vying for the Oval Office. Now, fundraising is one of the key components of political campaigns here, running into the tens of millions of dollars for each of those who managed to stay in the race. The latest Federal Election Commission figures show a total of nearly $400 million raised among all contenders so far, with Biden and Trump leading the pack. A few weeks ago, inboxes were inundated with emails asking for more donations. Take one here from Trump. Before we close the book for this month, his campaign writes, "I'm calling on every single pro-Trump patriot to chip in." Only Trump's previous financial disclosures to the FEC showed him in debt $200 million last year, and he'll need to pay for 4 expensive criminal trials during the race for the White House. This weekend, he faces off in South Carolina, the primary there, against Nikki Haley, the state's former governor and Trump's former ambassador to the United Nations. If she loses that, she'll likely be out of contention, potentially setting up a Trump-Biden rematch. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Well, International Atomic Energy Agency's chief said on Monday that he will pay a visit to Iran next month as the country fails to end their nuclear enrichment activity. The UN's nuclear watchdog has pressured Iran to not augment the uranium well beyond the needs for commercial nuclear use, as Iran was still enriching at an elevated rate of around 7 kg of uranium per month to 60% purity. Enrichment to 60% brings uranium close to weapons grade and is not necessary for commercial use in nuclear power production. Grossi will visit Tehran for the first time in a year to end the drifting apart, though Iran denies seeking nuclear weapons. Well, a judge in Haiti has charged some 50 people in case of the country's last president's Jovenel Moise assassination, including his widow and a former prime minister. According to the 122-page document from the judge, the president's widow, Maritime Moise, conspired with former prime minister Claude Joseph to kill the president to replace him herself. President Moise was shot dead when armed men broke into his bedroom on the night of 7th July 2021. The judge's order calls for the arrest and trial of those charged. Well, California experienced heavy rainstorms from another atmospheric river causing floods and mudslide risks. Experts believe the state is unlikely to experience damage like the recent one, which caused up to a year's worth of precipitation, knocked out power to nearly 1 million customers, and killed almost 9 people. The Sacramento Valley and the Agricultural Corridor may experience tornadoes south of the state's Tornado Alley. California has experienced extreme drought before last year's atmospheric rivers, and experts expect another wet year in 2024 with warmer temperatures and less snowpack. And a landslide caused by heavy snowfall in the Afghan town of Mokani in Nurgaram in the country's east on Sunday killed at least 25 people and injured several others, according to a local official. A video showed residents carrying a body on their shoulders in snow-covered buildings trapped by the avalanche. Sami al-Haq Bayan, Nuristan province's chief of communication and culture, informed that an emergency team had been dispatched to rescue people trapped beneath the rubble. According to Bayan, more than 25 homes were also damaged. Well, the southern region of Vietnam is seeing intense hot weather with a surge in temperatures. As a result, workers, especially those working outdoors or those that have to go out, are exhausted from the sweltering weather. In Ho Chi Minh City, the morning's cool temperatures began to increase towards midday. It exceeded the scorching heat of 35 degrees Celsius by noon. Though there is insulation foam installed on this warehouse's roof, the hot air still pours down. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The Yen Thu Spring Festival, one of the largest and longest festivals, kicked off in Vietnam on Monday. The festival features activities to honor, preserve and promote the value of the Yen Thu relic complex. The community of Yen Thu and surrounding provinces are applying for UNESCO recognition as a World Heritage. Burberry's creative director Daniel Lee showcased his third brief at London Fashion Week, celebrating its 40th anniversary. The event, set in Victoria Park, featured an ode to the brand's outdoor heritage for its autumn-winter 2024 collection. Lee, who revamped Bottega Veneta, faces pressure to produce a winning collection amid a slowdown in luxury goods demand and a profit warning. Almost 1,000 people participated in the annual Copenhagen Light Festival, a 7.7-kilometer run, jogging or walking through the city wearing battery-powered LED light chains. The festival, now in its 7th year, features illuminated bridges, buildings and light art. Participants enjoy the beautiful weather and the magical atmosphere while the event continues until 25th of February. A study in Nature Communications found that polar bears are at a high risk of starvation due to prolonged land use during ice-free seasons. Researchers observed 20 bears in the western Hudson Bay region and Manitoba, Canada, and found that juvenile bears are more at risk due to lack of hunting skills. Well, the 52-year-old WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange will hear this week whether the UK can deport him to the US to face espionage charges. His wife says he wouldn't survive that, being as he is physically and mentally extremely weak after remaining in British prison since 2019. DD Stuart Smith reports for more.
The High Court will hear on Tuesday and rule on Wednesday whether Julian Assange can appeal his extradition or not. If the court rules he cannot appeal in the UK, he has one more hope, an appeal to the European Court of Human Rights for an emergency injunction. But that will have to come fast, as once the court has made its decision, there's nothing stopping the UK immediately sending him to the US under the two countries' extradition treaty, which means one will send wanted criminals to the other for certain crimes. His lawyers say he's likely to kill himself if he has to suffer the rest of his life in America's harsh prison system. But lawyers for the US managed to convince a British judge that he wouldn't experience treatment severe enough to risk his physical and mental health. Assange is wanted in the US because he published hundreds of thousands of classified documents in 2010 and 2011, an act which the US Justice Department says was illegal and threatened lives. WikiLeaks says it's a political prosecution because his disclosures revealed politically sensitive and embarrassing material and exposed criminal wrongdoing by the US military. It also claims he should be protected as a publisher rather than treated as a spy, and his prosecution has become part of debates around freedom of the press. Assange hasn't been a free man for over a dozen years. He spent the last 5 in an English prison fighting extradition, and before that 7 years under self-imposed diplomatic protection at the Ecuadorian embassy in London while avoiding Swedish sex crime charges, which his supporters say were also politically motivated. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's men's hockey team shines at the FIH Pro League, beats Spain 8-7 via penalty shootout to face Netherlands on Wednesday. The 4th edition of Khelo India University Games kickstart in Assam. The coveted games will witness 4,500 athletes from over 200 Indian universities competing for medals. And astronomers have discovered the brightest and most luminous object ever observed.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on. The 16th edition of the World Social Forum, WSF, concluded on Monday in Kathmandu. The event witnessed over 50,000 participants from over 1,400 organizations of 98 countries. Participants deliberated on a wide range of pressing issues, including economic inequality, social justice, climate justice, among others. The event came to a conclusion with 60 declarations from organizations worldwide pledging to collaborate towards fairer world. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also expressed support in his solidarity message to the WSF 2024. Well, in Sudan, at least 25 million people are facing increasing hunger and malnutrition. The 10-month conflict between Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has also led to widespread displacement of thousands of families. According to the World Food Programme, there are 18 million acutely food insecure people within the country, and around 3.8 million Sudanese children under 5 years old are malnourished. And on to sports news now. Anush Agarwala obtained India's first quota in equestrian for the Paris 2024 Olympics in dressage. The Equestrian Federation of India announced on Monday. Agarwala, who had previously won a historic individual bronze medal in the dressage at the 2023 Asian Games, has obtained the quota for India based on his performance in 4 FEI events. In Hangzhou, Agarwala rode Etoro during his medal-winning run. The quota belongs to the country, and Equestrian Federation of India will conduct a trial before sending the final name for the Paris 2024 Olympics. The quota obtained by Agarwala was the 40th for India at the Paris 2024 Olympics to be held in July this year. And the Indian men's hockey team beat Spain 8-7 by a penalty shootout in an FIH Pro League match on Monday as the experienced goalkeeper PR Srijesh produced the decisive save for his team. The penalty shootout too turned out to be a thrilling contest as the two teams were locked 7-7 before Lalit Kumar Upadhyay put India ahead. In custodian, Srijesh then produced a decisive save, denying Spain captain Marc Miralles to earn the 8-7 win for the host. India will next face the Netherlands on Wednesday. Well, the 4th edition of Khelo India University Games kicked off on Monday with a glittering opening ceremony in the northeastern state of Assam, a part of the Indian government's Khelo India initiative. The Khelo India University Games 2023 will witness around 4,500 athletes from 200 universities across 11 days.
The fourth edition of Khelo India University Games was declared open in the northeast city of Guwahati on Monday. Around 4,500 athletes from 200 universities will be participating in the games, which will take place in 7 sister states of northeast and will end on February 29. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually addressed the opening ceremony through a video message. In his address, Prime Minister Modi applauded the efforts of various state governments, including the Assam government, for their contribution to promoting sports. He also highlighted the evolving ecosystem of opportunities for the youth.
खेलो इंडिया हो, टॉप्स हो या ऐसे अन्य अभियान हो, आज हमारी युवा पीढ़ी के लिए नई संभावनाओं का एक पूरा इकोसिस्टम तैयार हो रहा है। ट्रेनिंग से लेकर स्कॉलरशिप देने तक हमारे देश में खिलाड़ियों के लिए एक अनुकूल माहौल बन रहा है। इस वर्ष खेलों के लिए रिकॉर्ड 3,500 करोड़ रुपए का बजट दिया गया है। हमने देश के स्पोर्टिंग टैलेंट को साइंटिफिक अप्रोच के साथ नई शक्ति दी है। इसी का नतीजा है कि आज भारत हर प्रतियोगिता में पहले के मुकाबले ज्यादा मेडल जीत रहा है।
The grand opening ceremony was also attended by India's Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur, alongside Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma and Assam Sports and Youth Welfare Minister Nandita Garlosa, along with a host of other dignitaries. The opening ceremony witnessed thematic showcase highlighting the values of unity, diversity and spirit of sportsmanship. Speaking on the occasion, Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur said that these games are not just an opportunity to win medals, but a unique platform uniting athletes and communities alike in the spirit of sports and cultural exchange.
Khelo India University Games are more than just a battleground for medals. They are celebration of unity, sporting spirit and individual growth. Over the next 10 days, our athletes will compete for more than 822 medals.
A total of 16 sporting disciplines are held in Guwahati, with 4 sports being held in other northeastern states. The event is organized at 18 venues in 7 cities during the 11 days. The Khelo India University Games is a part of the Indian government's Khelo India initiative that was launched in 2016. The Khelo India mission focuses on promoting grassroots sports and identifying young talents from across the country. Sports Desk, DD India.
And for more on the games, we have a correspondent, Deepika Mehto, joining us. Well, Deepika, Prime Minister Modi yesterday addressed Khelo India University Games across the 7 states in the Northeast via video message, and he encouraged the players. Can you tell us about the mascot of the Khelo India University Games? That's Ashtalakshmi in the shape of a butterfly.
Good morning, Lipakshi. Yes, you said it right. As when we talk about Ashtalakshmi, it focuses on the 8 states of Northeast, and this term was given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he talked about Act East policy and not just Look East policy. When we talk about the Act East policy, he has combined this with the sports endeavor, and he has brought this to the concept of Khelo India scheme as well. And that is how the name Ashtalakshmi has been given to this edition of Khelo India University Games. And also when we talk about Ashtalakshmi and the mascot is a butterfly, and the wings depict the Ashtalakshmi, the 8 states, its cultural diversity, its rich heritage, its commerce, business and everything. When we talk about Northeast, its growth and its progress from India's economic point of view, this is what the mascot, the butterfly, predicts and depicts over here when we talk about Khelo India University Games. As you said, this is the 4th edition of Khelo India University Games, which is being held across different venues. There are around 18 venues on which Khelo India University Games will be played. There will be 20 different sporting disciplines which will be taken upon, and apart from that there are indigenous sports as well. Malakhambh is there, Yogasan is there, and you can see Malakhambh and Yogasan going in action today itself at different venues of Khelo India University Games. Just now we saw the conclusion of Khelo India Youth Games in Tamil Nadu, Chennai, and it saw a very nice response not only from the players but from the people from the local lights of Tamil Nadu as well. And similarly, we are expecting a good number of people who are going to come and join and cheer for their favorite players here at Khelo India University Games. Lipakshi.
All right, Deepika. Also, as you said, the grant event will cover 20 sports discipline. You also mentioned about yoga and traditional sports such as Mala Khamb also being lined up in this event. What else is lined up?
Apart from that, if you would look at today's schedule, then Kabaddi semi-finals would be played. Apart from that, we have football, we have volleyball, we have indigenous sport like Malakhamba and Yogasan as well. And hockey would also be played today. So if we talk about today's particular schedule, many sports are going to be there in action. When we talk about the semi-finals, there would be medal ceremonies in the sport of archery too. That would be starting at around 2 o'clock from the afternoon at the venue there in Assam. When we talk about Khelo India University Games, going ahead, we would be having other sports also, because as we said, there are around 20 sporting disciplines that would be played across different days across this 10-day festival of sports when we talk about Lipakshi.
All right, Festival of Sports. Thank you so much, Deepika, for joining us and giving us that information. And astronomers have discovered a bright quasar, the brightest and most luminous object ever observed, powered by supermassive black holes. The record-breaking black hole in this quasar is growing by the equivalent of 1 sun per day, making it the fastest-growing black hole to date. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.